Hello, my name is Kathy, and today I'll be continuing the discussion on Bach Flower Essences and their practical use, continuing with their use on ailments. Today we'll look at ailments that these essences can help with, continuing with the letter S1, part 1. But before I do this, I wanted to let you know that because I have a great many videos now on many different topics, that I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easy to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is the result of severe emotional conflict and inner turmoil and consists of the splitting up of the personality into various personalities or realities. Some Bach flower essences treat the cause of this disruption and are appropriate as preventative or therapeutic treatments. For schizophrenia that's due to a double life, use agrimony. People who act other than their true nature need agrimony. They are split and live in a constant state of tension because they have no outlet for their potentially explosive emotions. For schizophrenia with fears and anxieties, use aspen and mimulus and rock rose. When fear has no appropriate outlet, it can give rise to inner conflict, and this can be disastrous in people with a tendency towards schizophrenia. This combination treats fears of all kinds. For schizophrenia due to suppressed emotions, use agrimony and cherry plum. Emotions have a lot of energy. If they are suppressed, not allowed an outlet, they can create dangerous internal pressures which can disrupt and split the consciousness. For schizophrenia due to unprocessed shock, use Star of Bethlehem. Traumatic experiences that are not consciously processed and worked through can become permanent sources of emotional problems. Star of Bethlehem should be used whenever the mental and emotional faculties are disrupted, even when there's no evident source of trauma. For schizophrenia with compulsive thoughts, use white chestnut. People whose thoughts are dominated by the same ideas repeated over and over again need white chestnut. Sciatica, rheumatism, or spinal problems. Here we refer to painful irritation or inflammation of the sciatic nerve, which stretches from the lumbar to the toes. The pain associated with this condition is often in the backside of the upper thighs. Sciatic problems can be triggered by a disc problem, infections, or sudden or irregular movements. Normally, they appear in relation to infections or kidney or abdominal problems. Psychic influences can play a role as well, by causing tension in the muscles around the spine, which can limit our flexible movements. A relaxed body and an upright mind and spirit are the best preventative measures for spinal complaints. For sciatica with strain, use agrimony and Star of Bethlehem. To treat spinal strains and tensions and to loose up the spinal musculature. For sciatica due to aggravation and rage, use holly. Severe aggravation can affect the spine by causing our movements to become violent or aggressive, which can irritate the sciatic nerve. Holly can alleviate the tension and cause the irritation to subside. For sciatica due to stress, use impatience. Impatience is indicated when our movement becomes rushed, hasty, or impatient, which can lead to dislocations of the spine. For sciatica with excessive ambition or the need for accomplishment, use oak. Oak is indicated when our excessive ambition or desire for accomplishment causes too much tension in the body. This places an extreme strain on the spine. Self-alienation. Only when we have an understanding of the deeper fundamental factors of life and of our abilities, needs, and qualities can we mold them into a unified whole and give a satisfying meaning to life. We can accomplish this in spite of the multiple influences that can drive us to a sense of self-alienation. Possessions, idle pleasure, honor, power, fear, and a system of education that has nothing to do with humanity and everything to do with making us useful and productive. Most of us spend our whole lives running from ourselves until a meaningless death takes us away in fear. When we are at one with our true selves, we have no reason to fear life or death because we possess the fundamental knowledge that everything that happens is right and meaningful. For self-alienation due to repression and hypocrisy, use agrimony. Agrimony is for people who do not dare to be themselves. They put up a front and play a role and take pains to be anything but what they really are. They don't dare show their true natures to anyone, often even to themselves. Agrimony strengthens our desire to be and act as we really are, allowing our external life to jibe with our internal goals and needs. Agrimony helps remove these defense mechanisms and can be combined with walnut, which helps rebuild the true personality. For self-alienation due to lack of clarity, use wild oat. Anyone who feels that they don't know where to find the meaning of life or who is discontented because they feel that time is just slipping away uselessly can take wild oat to get back on track. It must be taken over a long period of time, though. For total self-alienation, use agrimony and walnut. Self-confidence and inferiority, feelings of inferiority. For too little self-confidence and inferiority feelings, use larch and walnut. For too much self-alienation, use oak and water violet. Use oak when we don't know or don't want to know our limits. Use water violet when we believe that we don't need other people. For self-confidence that is suddenly lost, use elm and larch. For insufficient self-confidence with a weak will, use gentian and larch. For insufficient self-confidence causing fear, use larch and mimulus. For insufficient self-confidence due to exhaustion, use larch and olive. For insufficient self-confidence due to a mental or emotional trauma, use larch and Star of Bethlehem. For insufficient self-confidence causing us to be too easily influenced, use larch and walnut. For insufficient self-confidence making a meaningful life impossible, use larch and wild oat. For insufficient self-confidence making us resigned, use larch and wild rose. For insufficient self-confidence with a tendency towards self-denigration, use centaury and larch. For insufficient self-confidence with feelings of inferiority, use walnut and larch. Selflessness, pathological self-sacrifice, renunciation. Usually we instinctively avoid any kind of self-denial. Self-destructive selflessness serves no positive purpose. It serves only to feed the selfishness of the egotist and the addiction of the emotional blackmailer. True selflessness requires a healthy, stable psyche. Only then can we hope to help those weaker than we are and thereby enrich our own souls. For selflessness, self-sacrifice, and renunciation due to a weak personality, use centaury. Centaury helps people who achieve a false selflessness out of a lack of self-assertiveness, which serves only to strengthen the selfishness of others. For selflessness, self-sacrifice, and renunciation with worries, use red chestnut. Red chestnut can help anyone who thinks only of others and forgets about their own needs. For selflessness, self-sacrifice, and renunciation with worries, use centaury and red chestnut. Sentimentality. Sentimentality is an artificial, arbitrary state of mind. It causes us to be sentimental. We lose our grip on reality as well as our ability to feel true happiness and to overcome unhappiness. Clematis. helps treat sentimental fantasies of the future, and honeysuckle is appropriate for sentimental memories of the past. Separation, grief, loss. Human relationships can never be severed. If the relationship is an enriching one or a damaging one, it is the expression of the spirit of each of the participants and changes all involved. Externally, a relationship may come to an end, but internally everything endures when a partnership ends. We can tell if it was characterized by friendship and love or by psychic weakness and opportunism. If we have had the luck to be able to hold on to the wonderful feelings that existed at the beginning of the relationship, then the end doesn't mean a devastating loss, but is more like leafing through the pages of a good book. We retain what we have read in the previous pages and take that as a prelude for what's to come. Separation is just one step further in the ongoing process of widening our horizons. For separation, grief, and loss due to dishonesty, use agrimony. Agrimony helps us stay honest with ourselves and with our partner. It can prevent a false, painful atmosphere from developing in the process of separation and becoming a black spot in our biography. For separation, grief, and loss due to possessiveness, use chicory. When love becomes possessiveness or emotional dependence instead of free and joyful emotions, it's difficult to let go of someone. Chicory helps us let go, to become free ourselves and to avoid self-pity. For separation, grief, and loss due to hateful rage, use holly. Holly minimizes negative feelings. It makes it possible for us to behave in a loving, friendly manner. For separation, grief, and loss due to feelings of loss, use honeysuckle. Honeysuckle helps us find closure with what is already past and directs our attention to the present. For separation, grief, and loss with bitterness, use willow. If separation causes bitterness or resentment or leads us to rail against fate, willow is helpful. Sexual dysfunction. Sexual dysfunction generally stems from psychic causes. Sexual relationships are characterized by especially intense private contact with another person. Sexuality embraces procreation and also the possibility of experiencing profound emotions. It's no wonder then that that practically all psychic problems can have a negative impact on it. For sexual dysfunction due to a lack of emotional investment, use agrimony. The more trust we place in our partners and the more enthusiasm for life we have, the more satisfying our sexual experiences will be. Agrimony helps when we hold back too much or when we are just going through the motions. For sexual dysfunction due to revulsion, use crabapple. From a strictly biological point of view, sexuality is a primitive animalistic phenomena. There are some people who live in a sterile, artificial, antiseptic world who see sex as filthy or revolting, which inhibits their enjoyment. Crabapple helps minimize compulsive cleanliness. For sexual dysfunction leading to psychosis, use cherry plum. At times, the sexual drive is one of the strongest powers we possess. When moral pressures inhibit this drive, a severe inner conflict can result, in which the inner balance of disrupted and we are in danger of a breakdown, hysteria, or psychosis. Cherry plum helps relieve these pressures and resolves our inner conflict. For sexual dysfunction due to over-arousal, use impatience and vervain. For sexual dysfunction due to fear, use mimulus. Sexuality can be disrupted for all kinds of fears, some justified and some arising from absolutely no reason. For example, fear of becoming pregnant, fear of contracting an illness, fear of disgrace, or fear of damnation. Mimulus can help eliminate the ungrounded fears. It's often used for a first sexual experience. In the case of fear of failure, it can be combined with large. For sexual dysfunction due to exhaustion, use olive. For sexual dysfunction due to moralistic pressures, use pine. For sexual dysfunction due to negative experiences, use Star of Bethlehem. Because of our great expectations and lack of experience, the fears and reservations associated with sex can develop into psychic trauma that is often difficult to work through owing to the complex nature of the topic. Such trauma can eventually lead to a kind of sexual block. I have a great many videos now on many different topics, and so I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easy to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Well, that's it for now. To stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this free YouTube channel by clicking the red subscribe button right below this video. Take care.